All right, welcome back in. Zach Gelb in for Amy Lawrence here on CBS Sports Radio on your Friday morning. Now time to talk a little NFL, and we're going to do so with Vinnie Iyer from the Sporting News, who's kind enough to hop on board for a few minutes. Vinny, it's Zach Gelb here in New York City on CBS Sports Radio. Appreciate a few minutes. How are you, my friend?
Doing well, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. So let's start it off with a huge trade that did occur earlier this week. That's between the Rams and the Patriots. Patriots give up Brandon Cooks. They get back that first-round pick. Patriots also get a 6th, and the Rams also get a 4th. When this trade first occurred, and now you have a few days to sit in and think about it, how do you break down this trade from both team perspectives?
Well, we'll start with the Patriots. It's clear that they don't want to pay skilled players that much, especially a guy that's coming up due for a big contract. They're able to flip him, essentially, for a minor profit of 9 picks up the draft board, and you look at them moving on. I just don't believe what they think a wide receiver is that important to their overall success. And we've seen that with running backs, even offensive linemen in this free agency period. So they think they can get around things with Tom Brady, and they looked at Brandon Cooks as this is a chance to move him. A team is hungry and aggressive like the Rams. And from their perspective, it's really surprising for a relatively young team with Jared Goff and Todd Gurley as some of your centerpieces still have to pay Aaron Donald that you're going so all in on your team this early. And that's basically what the Rams are doing. It's a short-term play with all these deals. There's no way they can sign all these guys to the deals they want here around the corner. So very surprising, but it's been a theme of the Rams offseason. Very aggressive, not willing and not worried about the money in the short term, and right now their team looks like a super team, but still, you look at the NFC, it's pretty loaded with the Vikings, Saints, and other powers there. So NFC is definitely the much better conference with the more Super Bowl contenders at this point.
We know teams are paid to adjust in this league, and we've seen this before. Teams go make a lot of acquisitions in the offseason, and it either hits or it misses, and when it misses, it's big. I expect the Rams to be a very competitive team this year. That's not breaking news. But you're curious, when you have a team that just really came out of nowhere last year, when you go into year number 2 and the other teams adjust, what do they look like when those teams make those adjustments? You know, how do you think some teams will adjust to what McVay and the Rams are able to do in year number 1 under that regime?
Well, I think they'll know that this team is serious and it's legitimate. And you look at the 49ers, an evolving team in their own right in that same division. It's going to be a bit of a power shift now with the Rams and 49ers taking control. The Seahawks are bound to step back, as well as the Cardinals. So when you look at this Rams team, they're going to be hard to defend and really hard to move the ball against on the other side as well. So things are changing. I think when you look at what Wade Phillips has, it's really going to be, can they shore up the linebacker core? Teams are going to try to work the middle of the field on the Rams as much as possible, avoid those corners, and try to get the ball in the middle of the field beyond Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. So no easy task there, but I think you can see teams attacking them there. And offensively, that's what you have to take away, too, as well, with Todd Gurley in the middle of the field, Cooper Kupp in the slot. So this team is very good on the outsides and edges and can make some big plays around the corner, but you're going to have to get them in the middle if you're going to beat the Rams.
You're right. The two teams we've been hearing a lot about, as you mentioned a little bit earlier this offseason, have been the Rams and also the 49ers. I know we haven't hit the draft yet, and we still have to see how that plays out. But when you see this 49ers team, the way it's currently has its roster constructed, what's a fair expectation this year for the 49ers?
Well, right now we haven't seen them lose a game with Jimmy Garoppolo, so we're not quite sure what's going to happen with this team because it completely changed. You look at the early part of last year, the quarterback play was shaky. The run defense was terrible. Then you saw Reuben Foster get back on the field, and that's going to be the wild card here. Or is anything off the field going to keep him from being productive there? What are they going to get to supplement him on defense? They already got Richard Sherman there for the secondary to help Akila Witherspoon in the back end. Solomon Thomas, they expect more out of up front as well. So what are they going to get there to help that part of the team and really push it forward? And then you look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Is what he did for real? Our team's going to adjust to him. Is Marquise Goodwin and Pierre Garçon, is that a scary enough combination? And what you're going to get from Jerick McKinnon in that offense? They could do a lot of different things with him. So the 49ers are really just kind of built on their momentum from last year, just finishing so strong with Garoppolo.
It seems that it's a foregone conclusion from a lot of people that they believe already Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have an unbelievable career in the National Football League. I think from what we've been able to see from him in a short sample size, he's on that right track to be a good quarterback. Is there a concern individually at all with Jimmy G when you look at his tape so far? Is there anything that you may say he needs to work on this, or is this going to be the next, big young quarterback in the National Football League?
I think if there's one thing is maybe rein in his own confidence a little bit. He's had so much success early where maybe he thinks he can make the hero throw and get things in the tight window. And you saw a few turnovers from that kind of attitude, but at the same time, you like the guys competing and very confident, can hang in there as long as he can with that athleticism and pocket awareness and try to make the big play for you. So it's a balancing and cutting down those mistakes. But so far we've known that he's learned from the right guys and very confident, expects to win every time he goes out there.
Vinnie Iyer is my guest right now on CBS Sports Radio from the Sporting News. I saw those rankings that you put out a few days ago. You had the Vikings at 2 heading into the draft. You did some power rankings. The Rams at 4, the Eagles at 5. I know you had the Saints in the mix as well. When you look at this NFC and you did these rankings, give me a little explanation when you look at the NFC on how you rank these teams and why you chose to go that way with some of the teams that you did rank at the top.
Well, I definitely looked at the end of last season. I look at the Vikings being the NFC runners up there. They had Kirk Cousins. I think it's a big upgrade over all 3 quarterbacks. And then you have Sheldon Richardson as well adding to that defense. So that team's a lot better. You look at the Saints, I think they're a lot better with getting Patrick Robinson there and Demario Davis. The Eagles still pretty holding steady, but as a Super Bowl champ, you're naturally going to lose a few. So I look at those teams just being loaded right now. Frankly, I just trust the quarterbacks on those teams a little bit more with what's around them than Kirk Cousins and Drew Brees, where you have the injury issue maybe with Carson Wentz versus Nick Foles repeating it himself. And then Jared Goff, you like what he did, but in the end of the season, a few struggles there. So I think that's where you look at in the big picture when you look at offense, defense, special teams, the coaching experience. I lean more to the Vikings and Saints right now as the 2 best teams in the AFC.
And you still had, when you look at the entire 32 teams, you had the Patriots as the preeminent team headed into this draft. This has been an interesting offseason for the Pats. I think when you look big picture with New England, they're still going to be a playoff team next year. They're still going to win their division and probably have a bye in that first round. Why was there no drop-off for you when you look at the Patriots when some people are saying it's time to press the panic button with the Pats?
Well, I look at the other side, and I think in the way that Bill Belichick saw Matt Patricia lead, he said, okay, I got to take control of this defense a little bit more. I'm going to put more of my mark on it. You saw that with getting Danny Shelton, a big guy that can stuff at nose tackle, help them against the run where they really struggled. Jason McCourty, I think when you look at the play, him versus Malcolm Butler last year, McCourty was better when he played for the Browns. He was shutting down a lot of opponents' top receivers for them. It was a big surprise. So that was in a familiar situation, a scheme that fits him with his brother out there. So defense is going to be better in New England. On offense now, you look at them sitting on those 2 picks. Yeah, they took a hit at running back and wide receiver and offensive line, but this team can replenish there. They're still pretty loaded at those positions. And they got Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And for me, the Patriots are just number 1 because you can trust them to be as good as we think they're going to be.
It seems like there's a new rumor about Rob Gronkowski each and every day. He's not going to play for Bill Belichick, then he will. He's going to retire. He's going to go to WWE. It seems like there's something new every day. After this Cooks trade, everyone now believes that he's going to be back in New England. I thought he was never going to leave New England all along. Should Patriot fans all be concerned about what they've been reading with some of the rumors with Rob Gronkowski this offseason?
Well, I think you have to think about it a little bit, and you have to see, based on his injuries and his age, the clock is already ticking for a position of that nature, especially for Gronkowski. So much abuse he's taken, getting beaten up, playing as well as he has, both as a receiver and blocker, that it was coming soon. So I wouldn't panic about the Patriots. They can find things to do here. They might just change their focus all of a sudden if they feel more like Gronkowski's going to retire. They can look at a second tight end. They're definitely in the wheelhouse to get that type of player in the draft as well as an offensive lineman. So they need immediate help in the first round for the positions of need. They're in a good spot for that. They just might have to hold off a little bit and maybe drafting that quarterback in the future.
We're talking to Vinnie Iyer right now from the Sporting News, Zach Gelb on CBS Sports Radio. Take the 49ers out of this next question because we've already touched on them. Give me a team in the AFC and the NFC with the way that the roster is currently constructed that did not make the postseason last year that will be in the postseason this year when you look at it, one AFC, one NFC team.
Well, I think I'm going to start with Green Bay. It's an easy one there with Aaron Rodgers coming back, but I'll give you a team B in the same division as the Chicago Bears.
Wow.
Look at their defense. They kept everything intact, very similar profile to what the Eagles were. A lot of defense, a lot of depth there, and offense really helping them. The second-year quarterback there, Mitchell Trubisky. So I really like the Bears as a team to watch and can make some noise, at least as a wild card contender this year. And the AFC, it's a little tougher, but you dig deep and you see the team that was the hottest from last year is the Chargers. You look at them, their defense is looking spectacular right now. Their offense left a lot on the table, lost a lot of close games early in the year, but won 6 of their final 7 games. So when you look at it, the Raiders have a new coach, the Chiefs have a new quarterback. Changes are abound in Denver as well. The Chargers are in a great position to win that division.
Let's spend a few minutes on the draft as we're talking to Vinnie Iyer. When I look at this draft, the first 3 picks to me will set up this entire draft. I believe the Browns will go quarterback 1. The Giants, I think, are a mystery. They could go quarterback. They go Barkley. They go Chubb, or they could trade the pick. And then the Jets, they're going to go quarterback. The question just is which quarterback. How do you see the first 3 picks, Browns, Giants, Jets, playing out in this year's draft?
Well, I think you're definitely right on 1 and 3. You don't trade up if you're the Jets. If you're not going after a quarterback, you don't trade up for other players in this day and age unless you're trying to get that franchise guy. So those 2 are locked in. Like you said, the Giants are the big wild card here. If you look at the last 2 drafts and who's held those picks, you'd have to think there's a trade there because the 49ers were able to make that move last year. Before them, the Browns were able to do that as well. So the number 2 pick is such a valuable commodity, especially sandwiched in between 2 pretty surefire quarterback picks. So I would expect right now, if the Giants don't stay there and take someone like Bradley Chubb or Saquon Barkley, I'd say the odds are just as good as they trade that pick and stockpile here a little bit more to get them help at other positions.
Is Darnold the number 1 overall pick in your mind?
To me, I think when you look at the boxes of all these quarterbacks, I think he checks the most. He may not be spectacular, but he's at least well-rounded as far as the least question marks in terms of personality, athleticism, arm accuracy, all the good stuff there. So I think he has the least question marks. I think he has the safest floor of any of these quarterbacks, and I think that's why he's number 1.
I was just reading a report that a team tried to call Lamar Jackson 7 times and didn't have any luck. He doesn't have an agent. Is he in danger of falling out of the first round, Lamar Jackson?
I think there's definitely a danger of that, but we know the quarterbacks could rev up, and I think it could easily go the other way, where probably Mason Rudolph gets pulled in somewhere in this first round as well, that it's going to go quarterback heavier than we even thought to begin with. So Lamar Jackson, I bet you that team that tried to reach him 7 times or said they tried to reach him 7 times is the same team hoping that he's going to fall to them a little bit later. So we know all that kind of silly stuff happens at this time of the year where you put out as much as you can, hope some stock falls, and the guy that you want ends up in your lap, and a lot of other people miss out on him.
I always say this time of the year, I never believe anything that you read when it comes to the NFL draft. Last one with Vinnie Iyer from the Sporting News on CBS Sports Radio. Bob McNair, he apologized for apologizing to the Wall Street Journal with the whole inmates running the prison comments. I haven't been thinking about that for a while. I don't even know why you make that remark that you did the other day. It just doesn't make sense to bring it back up. Do you agree with me on that? I don't think Bob McNair made himself look that good over the last 24 hours. I don't even get why you bring back up that entire situation.
Yeah, I think for now, it's so far, it's kind of faded in the background, this whole issue in terms of what the public perception is about it, and it's kind of like scratching at an old scab at this point. And I think it's something that you just want to avoid as much as you can. As an owner and as a team there that is going to be well represented and has some players that you really believe in across the board on and off the field. So I think he maybe has to let go of that, and you have to think about it as well with the new team coming in with an ownership there in the Panthers.
One more that just popped up into my mind. Robert Griffin, 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. What can Robert Griffin offer a team? Obviously, Flacco's their guy, but maybe Flacco could get hurt this year. That's not a crazy thing to think of. Robert Griffin, does he still have some good football left in him?
I definitely think he does. I mean, the biggest question with him was the inability to stay healthy, and part of it is his own doing, his playing style and all that, and just the durability issues. So if he can find a way to maybe adjust that, we know that the Ravens have been able to develop one pretty good backup that turned into starter there behind Joe Flacco and Tyrod Taylor. So maybe this is the perfect thing for him. We were relaxed position where the pressure's not on him, under the radar, has some time off, maybe can readjust his game and find some success here. We know Michael Vick was able to do that late in his career as well, and coming back from his issues.
Was this his only option, the Ravens, or were there some other teams that maybe had some chatter about maybe bringing in Robert Griffin III?
I think what you get this time of year is just the resetting of the quarterback rooms, and we've seen a lot of different quarterback rooms change, but you have to be really comfortable and have the guy that you trust and you paid and pretty much trust to stay healthy for the most part. I know Flacco missed some time with a knee injury, but for the most part, he's been a durable guy, so you can trust him where you're not going to have to lean on Griffin. There's not any pressure there. So the Ravens have been in the market for this type of quarterback for a while, and I think in terms of a fit, I don't think it gets any better than that.
Well, Vinny, hey, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much. We'll do it again soon, pal.
All right, thank you.